You know what I mean. Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis?
Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Will?
The New York Jets.
No, I'm going to hold you to an answer on that. What makes America the greatest country in the world?
Well, Lewis and Sharon said it. Diversity and opportunity and freedom and freedom.
I'm not letting you go back to the airport without answering the question.
Welcome to today's live. I hope we'll get a lot of people in here today. Interesting topic. A 30-minute live for today. We're going to keep it relatively brief and cover something not exactly specific civics related, but of course, civics is involved in everything in our lives. So it's important when we talk about these types of issues that we relate it back to civics, because I think too many people in the world think that politics and civics is abstract and that it doesn't really impact themselves or their lives on a daily basis. So as we're getting more people to join, it's really cool. If someone can let me know if there's an audio check. I think I lost a lot of people on the live yesterday because audio wasn't that good, but hopefully the microphone is now closer than it has been in the past, and I should be more clear. And if it's too loud, let me know, please, in the comments as well. If it's too loud, I can turn that down a little bit. But today's an interesting topic. What's wrong with young men and, the extreme and Gen Z in particular. So if you're Gen Z, I hope you're Gen Z, and there's a lot of Gen Zers in here. And if there are Gen Xers in here, that's great too, because this applies to Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X, and all of us in general. But there's something to be said about Gen X in particular, because they're going to become the most important generation probably in a very long time if American democracy and civics and our sort of American values, and if we're ever going to get to a place of being really great. I'm Gen X. I raised Gen X to Gen Z, who's now in school at 24. Very similar here. So I have many Gen Zers or have been in the household, and I see a lot of things that's happening in the world, and I do pay attention to what's going on. And if you're Gen X and you also have kids, you probably realize that there's something not necessarily wrong with Gen X as people, but really what's happening. So maybe this prompt right here shouldn't be what's wrong with Gen X. Maybe the prompt should be what's happening to Gen X and who's doing it. And that's actually the title. I'm live streaming as well on YouTube. So hello to the YouTubers that are here. I'm going to do more and more live streams. And if you haven't already followed me here on TikTok or on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It helps me get more exposure, of course. Let's see. Sina says, I blame the mothers for a lot of these kids. The mothers need to influence their size. I don't blame the mothers. Obviously parenting in general has a huge role to play in child rearing and adolescent stage. But there's something else that's going on, and it has to do with the information age. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And then I'm going to do 1 or 2 minutes with guests. So if you have thoughts and you want to answer this question, because this is just my subjective observations as a parent, that what's been happening to young men and being in technology for a very long time. So whatever I'm going to talk about today, it's not the end all be all. And I'm not saying that. So I want to see from or hear from other people. If you want to jump in the box and be a guest, and I'll give you 2 minutes to talk about what you see as wrong with Gen X in particular. And this could apply to young millennials, of course, as well, maybe even older millennials, but I really see it influencing mostly Gen Z and younger millennials than anyone else. So as we get started here, and we're just doing a short half-hour live, about this topic as we wait for more people to join. It seems like TikTok is definitely suppressing my content a little bit lately, but that's why I'm also trying to get going on YouTube as well. So it doesn't matter how many people are here. If you enjoy this content and you enjoy these perspectives and observations, I appreciate you being here. And maybe we can do something about it together. Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z are going to have to come together and change, the way or the direction that America is headed. So let's go into it. So what's wrong with young men and Gen Z? If anyone wants to jump into the box and jump in as a guest, let me know. There's a few people in here now. Here's how I see it. What's wrong with Gen Z and young men? Well, it's not what's wrong with them. It's what's happening to them. And this is really important. And if someone can let me know in the sound check, is it too loud or is it too quiet in terms of my voice? And if it's good, just give me a thumbs up in the comments so that I can know that everybody can hear me clearly, because yesterday I had some audio issues on the live. Sina says maybe we need to look at is the kids that did well and are doing well and see what's different. Oh, sure, that's a great opportunity to do that. Of course, compare the differences, that kids that are thriving versus kids that are failing or struggling in life, and what is the difference between those things. Of course, parenting is going to have a large role in this, but I also think it's going to be the information age as well. So I'm going to jump right into it. Hope that more people join. And if you have some thoughts on this, let me tell you my perspectives and observations on what's happening to young men. It's not what's wrong with them. It's what's happening to them. And the thing is they are being exploited like never before. And you might ask, by who? Who's exploiting young men? Well, it's other men primarily. Other men are exploiting young men, and they're exploiting their minds. And of course, they're exploiting their everything, but it mostly starts with their mentality and their minds. And when you say, what other men? Who are these other men that are exploiting men? And it's mostly, in my observation, has been the information age and tech bros and influencer bros. So you're going to hear a lot about bros in this conversation, because I want you to really think about this clearly, because I've been thinking about this topic for a really long time and witnessing it in real life and what's happening to Gen Z. So their minds have been polluted by the overwhelming amount of information. All right, thanks, homeschool historian. I'm going to love to hear your opinion or your observations as well. You'll be up first. But let me just get through this really first. So here's how I look at exploiting the minds and how young men's minds have been polluted by the oversaturation of information. Now, you first have the exploitation by the two primary forces that have been happening for hundreds of years, and that's government and companies, sort of the normal exploitation. So government needing you to be masculine in case you want to go to the army or get drafted and fight wars. Government has always been exploiting us in many different ways. And that's the normal exploitation, I would say, on a regular basis, that government, of course, exploits its society to some extent. And the same thing with companies. Normal companies have been exploiting us, whether it's Ford versus Chevy or Coke versus Pepsi or Chick-fil-A versus Popeyes or whatever it might be. We're being exploited by companies, all of us. And this is not just young men. It's also all of us, of course. And I consider these two things the normal exploitations, not necessarily particularly evil, just the state of capitalism and democracy is government and companies. Now, here's where things get a little bit more sketchy in terms of the pollution and the exploitation with young men in particular. I view it, number one, the gaming bros. So the technology gaming bros. And this, of course, started in the 80s, but wasn't so impactful like it is after the 2010s. The gaming culture with young men, just young men going to their safety net of gaming. And when they're gaming, they're being exploited continuously, whether it's with first-person shooters or it's with exploiting anything that they have in terms of money and being able to spend more money on gaming. But the gaming bros have started to pollute their minds and take away their time, right? Because the most valuable thing that we all have is time to learn, time to grow, time to educate ourselves. And when kids are gaming, especially gaming 4 or 5, 6 hours a day, or even more in many cases, that is taking away precious time for those people to meet new people, to socialize. And you could say they're socializing on Discord and they're socializing in the games themselves, but that's a different type of socialization. But the gaming bros, the technology gaming bros, are consuming or exploiting these young men for all of their time. Every free moment that they get, they are exploiting their minds in terms of gaming bros. So, homeschool historian, I'd like to hear your thoughts on why you disagree. But gaming has been, in my mind, one of the aspects where tech bros or gaming bros has been exploiting young men's minds. Now you also go on to the dating app bros. So now you're getting a little bit older. In the past, we used to have to meet people in real life circumstances, but now we have dating apps. And these dating apps are incredibly corrosive to young men's minds and young women's minds as well. But dating apps have completely changed the landscape of meeting one another, where it's much easier for young women to meet people. It's not as easy as young men to meet somebody through technology. So the young men have struggled to get matches unless you're a Chad, right? Unless you're a certain height or a certain wealth or a certain class, you have trouble meeting women online. And these dating apps have been exploiting young men's minds. So that's another aspect. So the and of course the exploitation of women as well, getting women to think they have so many matches and so forth. But it's really important to understand how gaming and dating apps, and these are, again, both technologies, how they have changed the evolution of how we meet people and how we spend our times. And this is part of the pollution. And then you have the sports bros. So you had gaming bros, now you have dating app bros, and now you have the sports bros, that you always have to pick a team. You're being exploited, whether it's football or soccer, football and basketball, whatever the sport is. You can't admire or respect the other team. You have to go full in. You have to buy their merchandise. You're being exploited for their time. You're being exploited on advertisements like never before. The amount of exploitation, and of course, then it goes into gambling, right? So if it was just spectatorship in sporting events, there's nothing really wrong with that. But now it's not about just watching the sport. Now it's about the gambling in those sports. And that's, again, exploiting young people and taking away their time and their money, because you can't win when you're gambling, right? Gambling is always a losing proposition. So these gambling companies are making a fortune, and they are, again, polluting young men's minds. And it's not just pollution, right? They're being addicted to gambling. And again, that's taking away time and money. So then you have, on top of the sports leagues, bros, then you go to the most, nefarious part of the sports leagues, and that's MMA and UFC, and having to be really tough and masculine. And there's nothing wrong with being masculine. You should be masculine. If you're a heterosexual male, you should be strong and confident. It's important. Young men and men build everything around us. But the amount of exploitation and blaming other people as well in terms of MMA and UFC. So there's an incredible amount of exploitation that's happening on that front as well. And then you get to the point where I think it's the worst of the worst, and that's the manosphere. And that's all the information that people consume online from the manosphere. And you might ask, what is the manosphere? Well, the manosphere is all these right-wing propaganda influencers and left-wing as well, but they seem to be the amount of consumption of information or misinformation that's coming from the right is definitely higher than it is the left. But these both sides of this red and this blue aisle of the manosphere. So when you took a look at pure numbers, the amount of influence that people like Joe Rogan has, and Andrew Tate in the past, and Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk in the past, and Jordan Peterson, all preying on young men's minds, getting them to blame somebody else for all their problems, whether there's inability to meet women, or there's inability to get jobs or good paying jobs and be able to afford housing and food and get out of their parents' houses and so forth. these people, I think, are the worst of the worst because they're always blaming somebody else for their problems. And I'm not saying that the entire manosphere, there are some incredible orators in the manosphere, and not everything they say that's untrue. It's not that it's untrue. It's that 50%, let's say, half of what they're saying is hate speech. And the other half, what they're spewing, has some validity. And when you combine that validity with hate speech, you don't know what to believe or what not to believe. You don't know if these people have credibility or not. And this manosphere aspect has had an incredible amount of pollution. So all the social media influencers that are polluting these young men's minds is a huge problem. And then, of course, you can get into other aspects of the political realm that I'm not going to get into. So, yes, you're still a requested historian, homeschool historian, just about up. So what does this have to do with civics? This is the last point I have about this exploitation before I take 2 minutes for each person. What does it have to do with civics? Well, it has everything to do with civics. Yesterday we talked about the fairness doctrine in media and the amount of bullshit that we are consuming and overconsumption of misinformation or hate speech or bad information, whatever you want to call it. It's really important, or it's all consuming that's happening with the information age. So when you have no time, you have no money, and you're listening to people who are polluting your minds, you have a recipe for so forth. So, homeschool historian, you don't have to join. This is my opening about explaining things. I'm going to let you in now to have a couple minutes, and what do you think? But, these are lives. I have an opening that I want to go through, and you just have to wait. It's not unusual having to wait on these lives. So homeschool historian. Yeah, how you doing?
I'll turn my volume up a little bit. Hey, so am I waiting around for 9 minutes of like your diatribe just so that I can talk for 2 minutes? Is that how you want to play this?
Well, listen, you're watching my live. If you don't, if you don't want to wait,
public platform, and if you don't like the public talking to you, you could like keep it in church, or you could stay in your
what
basement.
you could do instead is you can actually start your own lives, and you can run your lives how you want to. So do you actually want to?
The public?
Would you like?
You're on a public platform. I'm on the.
No, you're on a private. You're on a public platform, listening to a private individual and his channel.
But anybody can hop in here.
All right, so this is a wonderful start to the first guest here. Do you want to tell me your thoughts on what you think or not?
There's 5 people watching your live. Don't act like there's a ton of people waiting.
Hey, many times there's 500 people watching my live. So
I doubt that. I really doubt that.
Okay.
But, I'm here. So
Go ahead.
Let's talk.
What do you got?
Okay. I guess your point was, and let me just encapsulate.
Oh, first of all, are you an American, and are you what generation are you?
I'm an American. I'm 33. I'm
Millennial.
Millennial. What is it called?
Gen
peak
Y.
millennial. Like I'm the same year that more millennials were born than any other year.
Okay.
So I'm peak millennial.
Okay.
I'm a pretty good pulse on the United States, I would say.
Okay.
I went to university. I got a.
All right. Just tell me your thoughts. What are you thinking? What's wrong with Gen Z? You heard my thoughts about.
I don't think anything's wrong with Gen Z.
You don't think the over information? Okay. So then what do you have to say? You just think nothing's wrong with Gen Z?
Oh no, I think that you're like the point that you took 9 minutes to make was like capitalism exploits people. That was an amazing clarity that you had that took you 8 minutes to like articulate.
Okay, so the only thing you want to do here is try and discredit my opening 9 minutes.
We can argue if you want.
No, we don't have to argue at all. You don't have to argue. You don't have to be here.
Took you 8 minutes.
Again,
to say
you are ranting about how long it took you to wait. Like, get over it. What's your point?
I'm saying capitalism exploits people. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Okay, of course capitalism exploits people. I'm pro-capitalist. What's your problem? Like you don't think there's ever such thing as over exploitation or indecent exploitation or a level of exploitation that's never happened before?
Who said that?
That's a question. That was a question.
Oh, so I didn't say that?
That's what it sounds like you're saying. So capitalism exploits people. Yes.
So I didn't say that directly, right?
It's a question. I am asking you a question.
So I didn't say that directly, right?
Do we have a comprehension problem here?
No. You're putting things in my mouth.
I did not put things in your mouth. I asked you a question.
Okay, so your question is, did you say this? That's your question? No, I do think capitalism exploits people, obviously.
Okay.
And it took you 8 minutes to say that. Like,
All
what
right.
are you trying to what are you trying to get across? Like, what
Are
is your
you
line?
a fascist? Are you a communist? And where do you stand? Are you pro-capitalist? Where do
Uh,
you stand?
Democratic Socialist.
Democratic socialist. Okay, so how far socialist? Are you moving towards communism here or where?
I think eventually we probably will be moving closer to capitalism as time goes on, or communism as time goes on. But I don't know, because like the state of the United States right now is real topsy turvy. But I would like to think that we're moving closer and closer to like the Nordic countries and to socialism to some extent, and like helping out our neighbors and like making sure that everybody has like
Are the Nordic
access to
countries
health.
socialism?
They're capitalist. So I did I say that I was communist, or did I say that I was like democratic socialist?
I just asked you a question. Are the Nordic countries socialism? Do they
To
practice?
some extent, like more so than the United States, I would say. Would you not?
Okay, that is fair. They are. They you could argue that
why
we're
did you ask
capitalist
that?
or socialism as
Hold
well.
on. Why did you ask that question just now?
Because you made a statement that you referred to the Nordic countries as being socialism, and I wanted to get clarity.
Okay, are we clear? The Nordic countries are still capitalist, but they have restriction on the capitalism enough so that I would like classify them as like mostly socialist.
What's the
depending on,
only
like-
socialist country in the world?
I don't think there is one.
There is one. There is actually one.
Where is it?
It's China.
China is socialist.
China runs a socialistic society. Yes.
What I understand China to be is a dictatorship communism.
Their party is communism, but in practice, their entire country operates under socialism, where
Xi
everything is
Jinping
owned by the
run-
states.
Does Xi Jinping run the party?
Well, it used to be pure communism, right? But now he's becoming, like you said,
I
a
don't care what it
dictator.
used to be. I don't care what it used to be, and that was a distraction. Does Xi Jinping run the party?
He runs the party, and he's becoming
That's
more
a dictatorship,
authoritarian
isn't it?
than he
Isn't that
has been
called
in
a
the past.
dictatorship? Isn't that called a dictatorship?
Did I say he's an authoritarian?
I don't care what you said, but you said it was like a socialist like country, and I'm
Well,
telling you,
you
it's
see,
a-
you don't understand the
it's a
difference between the
dictatorship. No.
politics and the
Dude,
economy.
Shut up, dude. Shut up.
Okay, I'm gonna
It's a
kick you because you're
dictatorship,
just
then it's
clueless.
communism.
All right,
It's-
see you later,
It's
dude.
a communist dictatorship. You're
All right. So, interesting start to it. So, obviously, someone who doesn't like to be challenged. So, go look it up, do your research, grow up, stop trying to demean people. I asked you very straightforward questions. Maybe they were too hard hitting for you, but China is a communist government operating under socialism. Their entire economy is a socialistic country, and it is the only socialistic country. But we got off a topic, of course, and we're really talking about what's wrong with Gen Z and the extreme exploitation by tech and influencer blows. Apparently, my last guest thinks that everything is linear. Of course, capitalism exploits, but my opening statements were what's wrong with young men and what's happening to young men. And it's the over exploitation by not government, but government as well, by the gaming bros, the dating app bros, and the sports bros, and the manosphere, which is the influencer bros of primarily more of the right-wing propaganda. So this topic doesn't seem to be obviously that interesting to a lot of people because not a lot of people are sticking around for this live. But nonetheless, if you want to come on here and be a guest, you need to be civil. And if you can't handle checks on comprehension, then don't join as a guest. But I'm always civil with people until they start being demeaning or trying to discredit. And that's just how I operate this channel and this account, both on YouTube and on TikTok. So anyway, let's see. So that was my point about what's wrong with young men or what's happening to young men and this overexploitation. There's not a lot of people here. If anybody else wants to join as a guest and let me know your thoughts, let me know your thoughts on what's happening to Gen Z and who's exploiting them. And otherwise, if this is not an interesting topic for a lot of people, then I'll jump out and we're going to work on another topic for later on. So obviously this topic is not that appealing to most people. So I'm going to check out from this live, come back with something different. TK Civics, if you remember, please follow and like, and I'll see you in the next live.